Finally, we have a name for who might have been running the White House and controlling President Joe Biden. I'll show you an undercover video with the top Democrat at the DNC spilling the beans. President Trump says Biden's health is the biggest cover-up in our country's history. Canada is now saying maybe we should become America's 51st state, or at least cooperate with the United States and President Trump even more. I have so much to share with you guys. Thank you for watching and liking these videos. It helps more than you know. Let's jump right in. President Donald Trump has announced plans to pardon Todd and Julie Chrisley, stars of the reality show Chrisleys Knows Best. The couple was convicted in 2022 for bank fraud and tax evasion, receiving 12 and 7-year prison sentences for defrauding banks out of $30 million and then failing to pay their taxes. Trump shared the news with their daughter, Savannah Chrisley, during a call from the Oval Office, saying he believed their punishment was too severe. Savannah had publicly pushed for their release and spoke at the 2024 Republican National Convention. The pardon is expected to happen anytime now and will basically end their prison term. So time served means that it's now over. Now, I'm not going to lie. I love President Trump, but this pardon is fishy. The couple actually did defraud $30 million. They lived high on the hog and then got caught. Then their daughter or someone in the family attends a Republican dinner and donates $1 million, and boom, suddenly there's a magic pardon given. Again, I love Trump, but there's something fishy about this. Now, earlier today, a journalist called President Trump a chicken and then explained that this is how he's being talked about by the biggest bankers and hedge fund managers on Wall Street. Trump then went ahead and fired back. Let's go ahead and watch this reaction together.
Analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me, he said, you got the hottest we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive. And you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, you know, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things. And you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever. And they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me.
All right. So that seemed like a setup to me, right? Like, hey, people are saying that you're a chicken. Trump always chickens out. He's like, what are you talking about? I've been doing masterclass negotiation. Countries are literally begging to give us money, invest in our country, help us create hundreds of thousands, millions of new jobs. You call that chickening out? A commitment of over $14 trillion into our country? Other countries are saying, you guys are the hottest country in the world right now. That's chickening out? I love it. So, wow, that is not a question I would have asked the president of the United States given a chance, but I'm glad he defended himself and fired back. Now, speaking of the Biden administration, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt delivered a pointed message calling out the radical left-wing insiders who've quietly influenced the government over the past 4 years. She made it clear President Trump is determined to keep uncovering the truth, no matter how deep it's buried. Listen to what she had to say today.
Percentage of Americans who say the country is on the right track is the highest number that they have surveyed in their 29-year polling history, which I found significant. Let me ask you about the Trump FBI reopening investigations into the Supreme Court abortion decision leak, the Biden White House cocaine scandal that lasted a whopping, 10 days, and the January 6th pipe bomber mystery. It seems like the administration is going back and getting to the bottom of some unfinished business.
Mm-hmm. Yes, all of those announcements coming from the FBI, Kash Patel, and of course our great Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is committed to the truth, Sean, just like President Trump and his entire administration, and committed to an unprecedented level of access and transparency that is led by President Trump at the White House every day. He takes questions from the press. He talks directly and honestly and candidly about the problems and the challenges he is solving, not just here at home, but also abroad. And he's demanding answers. And one of the things he is going to continue to push for answers on is who the heck was running the country over the past 4 years. And you just talked about it in your monologue, and I'm glad to hear it, because this is truly the greatest political scandal our country has ever seen. We had unelected, radical left White House staffers who nobody knew their names running the most powerful country in the history of the world. And the Democrat Party was in a complete alliance to cover it up. And the mainstream media was right along with them. They were asking Joe Biden what his favorite ice cream was, rather than asking him whether or not he was suited to run the country. And so we need answers on what took place over the past 4 years, because look at the consequences of having these unelected radical left-wing staffers in the West Wing running the country. We had a wide open border invasion that this administration is cleaning up every day despite challenges from the courts. We had an economy that was left in the dust.
Okay, so Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, they are going after these stories that the Biden DOJ and White House refused to investigate because it would have made Democrats look bad, if I'm being honest. And they do look bad, and I'm going to make them look even worse. So I hope you like and share this video with family and friends. But we are going to get to the bottom. Now, President Trump issued a statement on Truth Social. He said, other than the rigged presidential election of 2020, the biggest scandal in American history is the autopen. Whoever used it was usurping the power of the presidency, and it should be very easy to find out who that person or persons is. They did things that a Joe Biden of sound mind would never have done, like open the border, transgender for everyone, men and women's sports, and far more. Fear not, however, we will bring America back bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Now, I'm going to get into who they believe was running the country, the White House, controlling Joe Biden like a puppet, and controlling the autopen. Let me start with the first one. Now, President Trump's White House crypto czar and financial consultant, David Sachs, has claimed that during the Biden administration, Senator Elizabeth Warren was in the background controlling what was happening because of her position on the Finance Committee. So she was going after President Trump, going after Elon Musk, going after the stock market, and then behind the scenes, she was controlling everything. Let's go ahead and listen to this.
This is the financial system of the future, Jesse, and we have to encourage it. What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the autopen during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community. She wants to drive this community offshore. She doesn't want it happening in the United States. That's the wrong policy for the United States. We want all the innovation happening here. This is a financial system of the future. It's cheaper, it's more efficient. We want it happening here, Jesse, and I think people are thrilled that President Trump is making that possible.
All right, now I'll be the first to admit that one caught me off guard. I mean, I know she wields significant power in the Democrat Party. She receives more money from the military, banks, big pharma than just about anyone, which means they control her more than just about anyone. And what he was trying to say here is she doesn't want this in America because the Democrat Party is not going to be able to cheat. So think of everything they did with USAID, international money, the NGOs, the fake charities, the flooding our country, the rigging elections. All of that is being controlled by these puppet masters, and she is one of the biggest puppets in Washington, D.C. Now, on a podcast with Senator Ted Cruz, Doge head Elon Musk revealed that there are 14 magic money computers that were secretly being used to create money out of thin air and to pay people's bills, to negotiate with, to create extra money. Let's go ahead and watch this, and then I'm going to show you something really big, something that was caught on camera at the highest level of the Democrat National Convention. Let's watch Elon Musk.
So I call a magic money computer any computer which can just make money out of thin air. That's magic money.
So how does that work?
It just issues payments.
And you said there's something like 11 of these computers at Treasury that are sending out trillions in payments?
They're mostly at Treasury. Some are, but there's some at HHS, some there's one or two at State, there's some at DOD. I think we found now 14 magic money computers.
14, okay.
They just send money out of nothing.
Okay, wow. Why would there be 14 magic money computers spread around the federal government that can magically create digital dollars and make payments that people weren't able to track or even knew were happening? It's very, very suspicious. I mean, I got to tell you, as I've covered the news on your behalf for the last 5 years, I've been absolutely disgusted by how much corruption there is in both parties, but specifically the Democrat Party. It's just, it's crazy to me, and it gets even worse. I'll share that with you, but this kind of corruption exists in the real world too. Now, if you're a homeowner, you need to listen to this. When is the last time you checked on your home title? You know, the legal document that proves that it's your house. Well, if you were like me before learning about home title lock, the answer was never. The problem is, in today's AI and cyber world, scammers are stealing home titles and the equity in your house. They're targeting you. Here's how it works. Criminals, they can just, they just print off these forms, and then they go to Amazon and they buy a fake notary stamp. They then go to the county recorder and boom, they transfer the title of your home out of your name into a fake name or into their name, and then they start spending the equity in your house. Now, you don't find out about this for many, many months. You might end up in foreclosure. You might get nasty letters in the mail, and you think, wait a minute, these must be a mistake. But boom, you're left with a financial and a legal nightmare. That's why this needs to stop, and you need to not be a victim of this. So I want you to use promo code Gardner at HomeTitleLock.com. I want you to go make sure that your title is still in your name right now. You also get a free title history report, plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's a 24/7 monitoring on your title, urgent alerts to any changes, and if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Go to HomeTitleLock.com right now. Use promo code Gardner. That's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Gardner. I'm going to leave that link down below. Go check it out. All right, now I have another big story. Investigative journalist James O'Keefe was able, through he was able to infiltrate the highest levels of the Democrat Party, the Democrat National Convention, the DNC. The guy up at the very, very top, he's a young man by the name of David Hogg. The DNC right now is actually trying to remove him because he's calling out their corruption. He's saying people like Bernie Sanders and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer need to step down. They're corrupt. They're old. They've become mega rich without helping the American people. So because he's calling them out on their bullcrap and their deception and their fraud and their theft, they want to remove this young man. Well, a spy was able to infiltrate a lunch, and this guy just starts spilling the beans about who was running the country, who was controlling the White House, possibly the autopen, but who was definitely controlling Joe Biden. And we've all said that his wife, Jill Biden, she needs to be investigated for elder abuse. But listen to this and tell me what you think down below.
One question for me is like, how corrupt is the DNC if so many people knew, or few people knew about Biden, well, the president of the United States?
I mean, I think the fact of the matter is the DNC is always going to be like a campaign arm of the president, ultimately. The bigger issue was like the inner circle that was around Biden. That's it.
And I can't stress you enough.
Like Joe Biden's chief of staff, like had an enormous amount of power.
Okay. Jill Biden's chief of staff. You would think it was Ron Klain or the other guy that took over as Joe Biden's chief of staff. David Hogg is actually saying Jill Biden and her chief of staff were the ones running the country.
Joe Biden?
Joe Biden's chief of staff.
That was like an open secret at the level. Like, I would avoid him. Like, he was scary.
What was his name?
Anthony Trump.
This guy's scary. I avoided him. He now says, I've never actually seen him. So this is the dark shadow that was running the U.S. government.
I've never seen him.
Exactly.
What do you mean?
He's like a shadowy, like, Wizard of Oz type figure. That's what made him so like. I knew how he looked, but I'm like, the general public wouldn't know how this man looked. But he wielded an enormous amount of power, and I can't stress to you how much power he had at the White House.
Okay. That goes on. That's actually about a 14-minute video, but out of respect for you and your time, I'm not going to show the whole thing. Let me know in the comments down below. I've been covering the Biden White House for 4 years. I had never heard of this guy. I thought it was Jill Biden, Hunter Biden, Ron Klain, Rice, others that Susan Rice, others that were running. But now this guy at the top of the DNC is saying it was actually this guy, and everybody's afraid of him. He was the one running the country. Pretty crazy, right? Okay, now President Trump has claimed that Canada is rethinking becoming America's 51st state to get free access to the U.S. military and the new Golden Dome missile defense system. Without joining, Trump said Canada would have to pay $61 billion for America's protection. The full system is expected to cost $175 billion and is designed to protect North America against missile threats from China and Russia and Iran. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, the guy who took over for Justin Trudeau, who met with Trump earlier in the month, quickly shot down the idea of statehood, stressing that Canada's sovereignty isn't up for debate. While he confirmed that talks about the Golden Dome are ongoing, Mark Carney also said Canada is looking to build stronger defense partnerships with Europe and to avoid becoming dependent on the United States. Experts say Canada plays a key role in North American defense because of their aerospace up near the Arctic. Many doubt the system can be built in under 3 years and worry that there could be an attack on the United States before then. I don't know what's going to happen. I do know this. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, as mentioned earlier, they're reopening several major investigations. I want them to dig in on the Hunter Biden laptop, the Russia hoax. But the first one that they're going after is the bag of cocaine that was found at the White House. Was this Hunter Biden? Was it somebody connected to Joe and Jill Biden? From what I understand from my show guest, Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, it's almost impossible to sneak anything into the White House, let alone drugs. So where did it come from? Nobody ever really wanted to find out, but now they're saying, we want to find out. We want to know. We want to know what's going on. Okay, last story that I wanted to share with you. Remember how President Trump said the WHO is corrupt and we were giving them all of this money, but really the WHO was being run by Bill Gates and China. So why were we letting Bill Gates and China control our health response to pandemics? I didn't want that. I know you guys in my community didn't want that. Well, now RFK Jr. and Mario Lugones of Argentina, they have signed a joint declaration, a new health framework focused on national sovereignty and individual rights when it comes to medical freedom. Both have said that Americans lost their freedom and their constitutional and Bill of Rights because of Anthony Fauci and the COVID-19 response. They never want to see this happen again. So this was a giant middle finger to the WHO, who says they're going to go out of business if America doesn't re-engage. And then now they've just signed this pandemic treaty with dozens of nations, but America is saying, no way, we're out. So they're starting their own with Argentina, and I expect many other countries will join. But let me know what you think. Are you proud of RFK Jr. and Trump for saying, heck no, we're not letting Bill Gates and China and Hotez and Fauci and losers like that control our medical freedom, take away our God-given rights as Americans? Oh, also, did you guys see that Marco Rubio said any country that tries to block America's freedom of speech in their country, those people will be denied visas to the United States of America. So if they try to control America's speech in England or Brussels or Luxembourg or Paris, then we're going to start revoking visas. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, said, it doesn't matter where an American is, anywhere in the world, they have their God-given right to say whatever the hell they want, and he's going to stand up for each and every one of us. I mean, this is huge. Let me know what you guys think of Marco Rubio. By the way, I'm hearing a rumor. This is unconfirmed, but I want to just hear what you guys have to say. There is a rumor that Donald Trump, over the next 3.5 years, is going to be mentoring, educating, and grooming a J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio ticket to ensure the MAGA agenda moves forward and that we dominate the White House for at least the next 8 years after Trump has retired. I think, man, that is a golden ticket. Can you imagine J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio running the country with Donald Trump in the background, giving ideas and advice and counsel? Oh, man. Woo. Gives me the chills because it makes me so happy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, what do you think about this new revelation from David Hogg about who was really running the White House, who was funding the border invasion, allowing the border invasion, all of the COVID mandates, all of that, and controlling Joseph Robinette Biden as if he was Pinocchio on a string? Let me know what you guys think. I love you. Stay amazing. If you could, give this video a like. It tells the algorithm to share it with hundreds of thousands of more people. Share it with family members and friends. We're trying to grow this channel. I want to be your source of truth and news. And if you could, hit that subscribe button. We're almost to 2 million amazing truth seekers. I love you guys. Stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.